Hello everyone and welcome to another Explain 11 full flight video. I hope you are all doing fantastic today. In this video we are going to fly along the west coast of the United States from San Francisco to San Diego, and we are going to do this flight in this beautiful bird right here. This is the Boeing 727-200 from FlyJsim. We are flying with PSA today, otherwise known as Pacific Southwest Airlines, which sadly no longer flies today. Just like the previous video, if you don't already have this aircraft, I highly recommend you go buy it on the explain.org store. I have nothing but good things to say about this add-on. It is very fun to fly, not as easy as the Embraer 145. In fact, it can be quite a handful to fly sometimes, because this is such an old airplane. But once you get used to it and familiarize yourself with all of the systems, it becomes an absolute joy to fly and very rewarding as well. It is such a good airplane that people from Prepared are coming to Explain just to be able to fly this aircraft. So like always, a link to this aircraft will be in the description below. And without further ado, let's jump into the flight deck. So here we are inside the cozy cockpit of the 727. Like I said, it's pretty old. And it's still in a cold and dark state right now, but we are going to change that by first turning on the battery. There we go. The essential power can go to standby for now, and we are immediately going to turn on the APU. 1, 2, 3. You can see the exhaust temperature start to rise, and you should also hear the APU start up in the background. In the meantime, we'll go to the overheads panel and arm the emergency exit lights. The passenger signs can come on as well, and all of the window heats can come on. The navigation light can go on as well. So the APU is now running. We can go back to the overhead panel and we will now set the pressurization panel. Our cruising altitude today is flight level 310, like so. So that gives us a cabin altitude of 40,100 feet, 4,100 feet, sorry. There we go. And the landing altitude is approximately 20 feet above sea level. And we can also turn on the packs. Everything else on the overhead panel can stay where it is for now. So before we start programming the FMC, we will first fill up the aircraft with passengers and gas. So according to SimBrief, we need to take 25,000 pounds of fuel. Right now we have exactly 25,000 pounds, so we'll add just a little bit more for good measure. And our takeoff weight needs to be 155.8. So we'll add some cargo. That's close enough. So I'll mess with the center of gravity a little bit more just so we are in the safe zone. There we go, that should be good. So now guys, before we go to the FMC, I want to show you a nice feature that this airplane has. So there is a little pop-up window where you can choose the type of navigation system you want to use. If you want to do it the way pilots used to do it in real life, you can fly from VOR to VOR using just this instrument and your navigation radios down here. Or you can replace the FMC with the SIVA INS, which is basically a system that works with waypoints that you have to put in manually using the coordinates. I'm not going into too much detail about how it works today, but maybe I'll make a separate video about it someday. So to change your navigation system, you just press this button right here. And as you can see, we are using the FMS. I personally prefer using the FMC just because it makes flying this aircraft a lot easier. And during a flight I can now step away for a minute or two while the aircraft will still follow the flight plan. So it's just for the sake of ease of use. So now we'll go down to the FMC and start filling in the flight plan. So we are at KSFO, which is San Francisco International Airport. And we are going to KSAN, which is San Diego. And our flight number is PS762. I totally made up that flight number. And then we'll go to departing and arriving. We are departing from, let me check real quick, runway 28 right. And we're departing via the Offshore 2 departure to RZS. Execute that. We'll go back to the flight plan. From RZS we're going direct to the Los Angeles VOR. And from there we are going to fly the arrival into San Diego. This is the one we need, to COMIX 2 arrival. From LAX for the localizer runway 26 from Lindy. And we can execute that. Now we are going to check for some discontinuities in the flight plan. There is one right here, we can clear that. And another one as here. Another one here, I mean. There we go, flight plan looks good to me. Now that we've done that, we can have a listen at the Ats report for this airport. The Ats frequency for this airport is 118.85, which is already set in the radio panel.
San Francisco INTL, arriving runways 28 right, 28 left, departing runways 28 right, 28 left, 01 right, 01 left. Advise on initial contact, you have Alpha.
So the altimeter was 3009, which I've set in all of the altitude indicators. So we've set the FMC. Now we can brief the departure that we're using. So here we have the Offshore 2 departure. The first segment is this one right here. We are departing from runway 28 right, so we are gonna fly initially a runway heading of 281 degrees until we're at Senzi, where we need to be at or above 2500 feet. After that we'll make a right turn to 203 degrees to Whammy, and then after Whammy we'll make a left turn again for Seagull, where we need to be above 16,000 feet, and then to Cyprus, where we need to be above flight level 220, and then we are going to fly all the way to RZS. The top altitude is assigned by ATC, so we'll just say it's our cruising altitude of flight level 310. And the transition altitude, because we're in the United States, is always 18,000 feet. Now for the taxi route, We are parked at this terminal right here, so we'll push back with our nose to the left and our tail to the right. We'll make a right turn on taxiway Alpha and go straight ahead. We'll cross the two inactive runways. Then we'll make a left onto taxiway November and cross the active runways. Then we'll make a right onto Charlie and straight ahead to the holding point for runway 28 right, where we will depart in a northwesterly direction. So that was the briefing. Now we can start preparing the aircraft for departure. We can also set a navigation source to GPS. And I will set the heading bug to approximately 281 degrees, like so. And I will set the flight director to heading mode. Our cruising altitude is already set. Now that the airplane is filled up, we can also set the V-speed. We will depart with flaps 5 today, which gives us a V1 of 141, VR also of 141, and a V2 of 153. So our V2 speed will be, our initial speed will be V2 plus 15. That gives us 168 knots, which is set. And we can also press set the bugs. That's all set. To set the trim, you just simply press the green area, and this will automatically set the trim for you. And now we can call the pushback truck.
Ground to cockpit, please show me where you want to go.
That's exactly where I want to go.
Ground to cockpit, tow is driving up.
As you can see, the tow is now coming to our airplane. We can now turn on the beacon light to let everyone know we are about to start our engines. Then back to the engineers panel, we can turn on all of the fuel pumps, like so. The electric hydraulic pumps can go on as well, which will pressurize the electric hydraulic system. Everything else is good for now.
Tow connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
Parking brake is released.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
We have received our clearance to start the engine, so we'll remove the engine covers. And we'll turn off the packs. You will see a rise in PSI, which means we have enough bleed air pressure to start the engines. There we go. Now that the air conditioning is not working anymore, it has also gone very quiet in the cockpit. So we'll start by pressing the engine start button of engine number 2. We're going to wait until the N2 reaches 20%, and then we're going to introduce the fuel. There we go. Now the exhaust temperature will start to rise, and the N1 as well. And once the oil light extinguishes, we have a good engine. There we go. We'll wait until it has stabilized a bit. Like so. Now we'll start engine number 3. Same process.
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
Parking brake is set.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
So we have 2 good engines, 1 more to go. And once again, same process for the 3rd engine.
Tow is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal will be on the right. We'll see you next time and have a great flight.
As you can see, we have 3 good engines. I will now close the engine covers again. Probe heats can go on. Transponder to TARA. Auto brakes to rejected takeoff. And back to the engineer's panel, we can connect the generators. The essential power can go to generator 1. We can turn back on the packs and turn off the engine 3 and APU bleed. Very important right here is that you set the pressurization to flight mode. And we can turn off the APU. The pushback truck has already left. So one last thing, we need to check our flight controls. Full right rudder checked. Full left rudder checked. Right aileron checked. Left aileron checked. Full back checked. Full forward checked. Flight controls are free and correct. The taxi light can go on. Parking brake released. And we are on our way to runway 28 right. So now we are going to cross the 2 active runways. I'm going to turn on the inboard landing lights and also the strobe light. We'll check for any incoming traffic, which there isn't, obviously because we're flying offline. So we've reached the holding point for runway 28, right? I've just seen that we haven't extended the flaps yet, so we'll do that now. If I hadn't seen that, the takeoff would have probably gone very wrong. So flaps are set, green light. Anything else I forgot? The rest of the landing lights can go on now, taxi light can go off, runway turn-off lights can go on. The passengers and flight attendants have been notified. Everything on the overhead panel looks the way it should. One final check here to see if everything's where it's supposed to be. We are ready to go. So once again, clear left and clear right. Runway 28 right is identified. We have a slight left crosswind it seems, but mostly a headwind. So here we go guys, slight forward pressure on the yoke. Enjoy this departure. Takeoff thrust is set.
80 knots.
Checked.
V1. Rotate.
Positive rate, gear up. (1,000 feet), so we can pitch down a little bit and let the aircraft accelerate. Flaps can go to position 2. And flaps can go up. Gear can go to the off position. Runway turn-off lights can go off and the outboard landing lights can go off as well. We are going to make a left turn soon. So autopilot can go on, IAS hold, and heading select for now. Okay, so now we can switch to navlog. You can see San Francisco airport to our left wing. We've crossed 10,000 feet, so landing lights can go off. We can now also accelerate to our climb speed of 280 knots. So what I've done is I've switched to vertical speed mode, and I've reduced the vertical speed to allow the aircraft to accelerate. So now I'll engage IS mode once again. And as you can see, the aircraft will start to pitch to maintain this speed. So guys, we've now reached our cruising altitude. I hope you have enjoyed the video so far. I will see you back at the top of the descent for the arrival briefing. For now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the views I've got in store for you. So guys, we still have 22 nautical miles to run until our top of descent. So this seems like a good time to brief the arrival that we're flying today. Like I said earlier, we are flying the Comics 2 arrival for runway 27 at San Diego. Our initial waypoint is the Los Angeles VOR, LAX. You can also see a couple of altitude restrictions here. And we need to, at Lantern, we need to be at 230 knots and above 9,000 feet. This airplane doesn't have VNAV, so we are just like in the Embraer 145, we're going to have to do this manually using speed mode and vertical speed mode. Our transition level is flight level 180. From Nado, we are going to join the approach for runway 27, the localizer approach. The frequency is 110.9 with a course of 275 degrees. After Nado, we're going to fly straight ahead and we're probably going to skip Lindy and just go direct to O'Kane, where we need to be at or above 30,600 feet. Then we're going to fly to the next waypoint where we need to be at or above 2,700 feet. And then to Rebo, which is our final approach fix, where we need to be at 2,000 feet. Our minimum altitude today is 663 feet. The go-around procedure: in case of a go-around, we will go straight ahead on a heading of 275 to 2,500 feet. And we are going to fly to the MZB VOR on a radial. Once we pass MZB, we are going to fly on a radial of 255 to this waypoint right here, where we will stay in a holding pattern. After we land, we are going to vacate to the left, probably at either B9 or B8, and then we are going to taxi to the terminal area. So there we go, that was the briefing. We have passed our top of descent, so we are now going to start the descent. I'm immediately going to engage IS hold. So at Marvel we want to be somewhere at flight level 280. I'm gonna extend the speed brakes a little bit to help us with the descent. And I'm gonna set the altitude to 15,000 feet. Don't forget to arm the altitude select, very important. Next altitude is flight level 230 at Spite. Fasten seatbelt sign can go back on now. Auto brakes can go to min. Or maybe I'll use medium for this approach. So the weather at San Diego is fairly good. Scattered clouds at 1900 feet and some broken clouds at 2800 feet. The visibility is good, more than 16 kilometers. The winds are 280 degrees at 3 knots and the pressure is 2991 with a temperature of 18.3 degrees. I'm already going to set the altimeter here. The next altitude restriction, we need to be below flight level 190 and above flight level 150 or 15,000 feet. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set the VRF speeds. We're using flaps 30 today, that gives us a VRF of 132 knots. Bugs are set as you can see. And I'm also going to set the minimum altitude of 663 feet, which is about right there. Once we pass Nado, I'm going to start to slow down the aircraft a little bit to 200 knots. So I'm gonna change to heading select now. And we are going to go direct to Vida. Once we pass that, we'll make a turn to the right. I'm also going to slow down a bit now. And we can start a gradual descent. So we'll start making this right turn right about now. At Vida we need to be at or above 4,000 feet. I'm gonna increase the descent rate. I'm gonna change over to Navloke again. I'm gonna start extending the flaps. Flaps 5. We are a bit too high at the moment. We might have to do a 360. Gear is coming down. Flaps 15 or 20. All of the lights can go on now. Flaps 25. We might just make this. There we go, airport inside. We extended the gear and the flaps a little bit early, but that's alright. So flaps 30. I'm going to go on heading select and change to nav mode. And I'm going to disengage the autopilot now. We are perfectly on the glide path. So we'll just maintain a gradual descent. You can see the city of San Diego over there. We are a bit too high. 1000 feet is checked.
Minimums.
Continue.
500. 400. 300. 200. 100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Bit of a hard landing. We bounced there for a second. Reverses are out. We are decelerating. There's 80 knots, so we can disengage the auto brakes. And 60 knots, reverses again, be stowed again. And we'll park at this gate right here. There we go. Parking brake is set. The APU generator is now connected, so we can set the essential power to APU. We can turn on the APU bleeds, and all of the engines can be shut down. So guys, that was a pretty rough landing. So let's look at a couple of replays now. So there we go guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe to my channel. It really helps my channel out a lot. You can also leave a comment in the comment section below about flights you want to see or airplanes you want to see me fly in the future. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.